So, hello everyone, and it's really great to have you here. And today, for our weekly webinar for Challenge 18, we have Muftu, Joseph Mufutu, as our guest speaker, which will speak about goal number 1 in the SDGs, no poverty. Okay, Muftu is a friend for a few years now, and like a brother, and I love him. And he is also a Ting global ambassador. You know, when we first met, he was quite shy, but now I can assure you that he has gained much leadership skills, and he's like a big inspiration as for who he is. So today, Muftu will share with us a new perspective of how we actually see hunger and assume that we can actually deal with such a challenge, and is there a way for us actually to maybe change our attitude, perspective toward that challenge, and obviously inspire us and give us hope. So Muftu, the stage is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sharon. You really decorated me. I feel so happy. My heart is warm. I love your words of praise. So thank you guys for showing up and coming for this session. It's really a great privilege. I really don't know why I was chosen to speak about hunger, and I don't want to think it's because I come from Africa and there's like I'm the best person to speak about hunger because of the global narrative of hunger. But anyway, I'm here, and it's alive now, and yeah, I think it's good to move on with this. So today I want to use the slides that I prepared in this session so that it can act like a structure, because speaking about hunger, it's a big issue. It has a lot of layers of things within it, and in 15 minutes to speak about hunger, I think it's hard to. I have a lot of stories to tell you about hunger, but because of the 15 minutes and because of the short session of this event that you're having, I will use slides to just guide our thinking process through this. So I will share my screen. It's possible to share, Sharon?
Yeah.
So in the meantime, I look for this. It's here. So what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about global hunger?
Africa.
So okay, which one of the two does it make you think about Africa, global or hunger?
Hunger. Yeah.
Lack of food, lack of water. Yeah, a constant hunger and a constant desire to eat.
Constant desire to eat. And what about the word? This is with the word hunger, with the word global, or both of them?
Yeah. I think it's about the management of our resources on a global level. That's the thing. Like Africa is the biggest provider for much of the food in the developed world. And then like we have here, right, Svetlana from Ukraine, which is like also one of the biggest provider for wheat and
Corn. Yeah.
and corn for the developed for the entire developed world. So that relates to global, but hunger it's about existing. It's about hope.
So I want you guys to hold these thoughts that you already have about what you're saying, hunger, and what you're saying about global and how they intermix. And I want us to explore your ideas of hunger and my ideas of hunger, but I want to try to do it with exploring the nature of hunger by asking questions. So this is a picture. I was dancing in the lake, and you see my nose is strapped. So it's like every time I want to breathe, I had to like come out and pull the air inside and down. So it's a state of a kind of breathing in. It's like I was in a state of distress. And in this state, there is a lot of questions that come about life and my food crisis and my food ideas. And some of the questions that led me to exploring hunger was like, what is global hunger trying to teach us? Like, what is global hunger trying to teach us? And why do humans need saving from hunger and malnutrition? How should we think about hunger? Where are we sourcing our thinking of hunger? And exploring more in the nature of hunger, how does hunger sounds like to you? How does hunger smells like to you? How does hunger taste like? How does it feel in this state of hunger? And what is the price of hunger? And who is paying for it? And who is buying it? So I want you to hold your first preconceived ideas and notions about what your mind was bringing about when it saw the word name global hunger. And now see those questions and those answers that you are holding inside with these questions. Like try to monitor and see what is coming up for you, like what is alive in this transition moment. And this leads me to this exercise I want us to do. It's like a journey of imagination. So imagine the most beautiful dream of hope and a bright future that your heart knows it's possible. Okay? So imagine this kind of utopia, we'll call it. So I will read through. I wrote some the script for it. So you can move with me if you can, to be nice. Imagine an ideal eco city, a perfect foodtopia that is preparing to host the first World Hunger Games. This is 50 years past the achievement of all SDGs. And now hunger is a sport. It's not a global crisis. Now we're looking hunger with a different eye, 50 years after we achieved all the SDG. So in this place they're hosting, above the surface, everybody looks clean, smiles, they are healthy, very wealthy, the water is clean, the cities are green and bright with more colorful flowers than lights. The birds are singing everywhere. The bees and all the other animal welfare organizations don't exist even now anymore. The animals are treated like humans now, and everyone is kind of vegan, alive, and thriving in a progressive times. So imagine this beautiful world. You can put all your pieces of fairy tales, wonderland and wanderlusts, all your dreams happening in this city. And you're now celebrating the world hunger issues as games, and like it's a sport now. But all this comes with a price. So for the whole city to enjoy all of this, for everyone to be happy, diverse, and to collaborate and to smile, they have to pay a price. And the price of all this happiness is the mystery of a child. For the whole people to enjoy whatever they enjoy, this child has to pay the price. So we'll dive into seeing what is the nature of the child in a bit. But the happiness of the people is based on the just misery. Like there's a justified misery of a child that is supposed to hold all this happiness of the people. So let's see what's happening in the child side. But in the stela below the most beautiful public building, there is a small child that people depends on for their happiness. He's supposed to be 10 years, but he looks like 5 years old now. You know, a kid that is very malnourished and did not grow well because all its life was living in this cellar. So he's around 10 years, but he looks like 5 years. The cellar where the kid lives has no window, only a small door. The child is always hungry, malnourished. He used to cry, "Let me out, I promise I'll be good." But nothing ever happened. But now the child has numbed all this pain and he now makes weird sounds. Like, you know, when you cry too much and there's no help, they cry, finish, and you start having weird cries. Cry of death, and the cry of smell and rot. All the people, it's common knowledge that all the people know that the child has to be there. Some understand why, and some do not understand. But they still understand that their happiness depends wholly on the child's misery. All the abundance, beautiful city, large estates, high tech, the health of the children, the best harvest, the World Food Program, military, NGO, and SDGs, all this depends on the justified misery of the child who has to pay the price of the happiness of the city. So we can see maybe the child looks like this African kid that it's always the common mainstream narrative of the vision and the mission of global hunger. And in this place also, as in all societies, there are always those who can live with this idea of happiness at the cost of the child suffering. And there are those who decide that they want to walk away from all this chaos, from all these hunger games. So the ones who cannot accept this reality, they decide to walk away. They kept walking and walked out of this world. This is after they have seen all the child suffering as the cost of their happiness. So they can't handle this and decide to walk away. They are still walking even today. They don't know where to, but they know that they can't be here or be there in that city. And the question that comes out is like, do they really think there's a place without hunger in this world? Do they really think there's a place without evil or suffering in this world? So I'm introducing more questions. From the beginning, I started like raising questions and show you the pictures, the two sides of the coin and the cost of this. But why am I doing all of these mental disruptions? So what is alive now and who are you in the story? So this should be a question that is coming up for you naturally if you followed through, or it will come, or it's coming, or I'm inviting you to think about it like this. What is alive now in you and who are you in the story? And still hold that mental pattern and you can even write it down. But this story is from Ursula K. Le Guin short story. It's called The Ones Who Walked Away from Omelas. This is where I got the inspiration from. And I love this story because it helps me to study the story of separation, systemic inequality, and structural inequality that are manufactured in our foods and in the way we live today. And the theme of today, what is appearing is like there cannot be happiness, which we call zero hunger in the framework, in the world without the suffering of other children, of others, which is represented by the child's misery. So other things that are appearing is like happiness is based on just discrimination. When I say just discrimination, I mean justified or dignified discrimination of others. And mostly we like to say what is necessary to be done to the majority, for the majority to be happy. And also what comes up when this story of hunger and global misery comes up is the theme of lost relationship. We lost our relationship to how we see food and how we relate. We lost relationship with how health and well-being means. We lost relationship to how vitality for life is, what it means to be alive. We lost a relationship with our lands, with our people. And so maybe all this is happening because we are in a kind of a grief or something. And also it shows the fragility of the global food empires, the big pharmaceuticals and the establishment, because maybe there's a deep understanding, like if they realize if people are empowered to grow their own food in their own place and choose what they want to grow, maybe there will not be business for this global empire. So it's in the best interest to keep situation and these structural inequalities in the food to be the way they are. Also, this, like for the people who walked away, it's also an invitation to get lost to the unknown, to live with the uncertainty, to say, like, I don't know, instead of being in the loop of solutioneering, like what is the problem, who is in charge, and this is what I want to do. It's like manufacturing solutions for the sake of others, for example. Another thing is maybe if we're guilty enough, we can start building capability to pay the price for real zero hunger. Because there's that element also. So again, on the last part, I still have more questions. And I'm learning nowadays to live with the questions more, to see what potential comes with living with the question, to surrender and to say, like, I don't know. And some of the questions that come up again after this is, what is the culture behind your solutions? Because it's automatic by default. Like, this is the problem, Muftu, you have addressed it. Let's find solutions. How can Africa be helped? How can Global South be helped? And usually there's this sense of forgetting. Of when you point, the tree are pointing back at you and God is laughing. This is always one of the mantras that I like to hold. So what is the culture behind the technology, infrastructure, and tools we are using today to address global hunger? What is the culture behind this? Because there's a tool, but there's a culture behind, there's a spirit, there's an entity, there's a person behind all these machines we are using to address this thing. Which hunger are we addressing? The heart hunger, the mind hunger, the hand hunger, or the land hunger? When we talk about global hunger, does it mean like we're just solving the food as a structure, or there's always a process behind the production system? And the people who are extracting or being happy at the cost of the others, which kind of hunger are they suffering from? Is it a spiritual hunger? Is it a land hunger? So this is an invitation to see different layers of hunger also. And lastly, what am I reconciling after all these questions? So I'm reconciling with my place where I come from in Kenya. My roots come from the Bantu people in Africa, in now Africa, and I'm trying to source some of the indigenous knowledge that they used to live with in regards with food and hunger that disappeared over time. So I'm trying to remember my place. I'm trying to remember my food. I'm trying to remember my people. And the questions that come up is like, what is good for me? It's good for all. These are the questions these are like kind of philosophies of questions that they used to raise for themselves in those times. And another philosophy is Ubuntu philosophy, which means like I'm a person because of other persons. It's like it takes a tribe to raise a kid, for example. It's like I am because we are. And this we transcends beyond the human boundaries. It means like we are interrelated, interconnected, interdependent on each other and all beings. So this also invites me to this place of collaborative abundance with infinite diversity. It's an invitation to open new relationship, new places of power, and working with more than human entities. Yeah. So enough of my yap. I've yapped a lot. And I want to hear what is coming for you guys.
Okay. Thanks, Muftu, for this beautiful presentation and actually raising these questions and this lovely story. I don't know, like what, like maybe I'll ask you, Svetlana. What did come to your mind when you saw these images of the children and this narrative that like all this wealth is on the account of of the children?
Sorry, I am muted. You know, if Sharon, if it were you who told me this story and showed this presentation to me, I just would take it maybe something like for granted, yeah, and it would not impress me. But if a person who survived and who experienced, yeah, hunger on his own, it's of great importance. And you know, Mufutu, that I just greatly appreciate the way you shared with us all these photos, to some extent dreadful photos, yeah, of exhausted child or children, of the child in the cellar. So it's not normal to live in the 21st society and to have no opportunity just to provide your family, not with red caviar or with some kind of expensive food or some kind of expensive meat, but to provide your family with just necessary kind of food, yeah, and not to see the hungry eyes of your child. So it's a dreadful picture, sorry, and it's I suppose that ordinary people just can't do nothing. The only thing they can do just to go hunting, yeah, to hunt for games, for partridges, for some other kind of food, and to provide the family with this kind of not income, but let it call food in the same way. It's a task of the country and of the world. So the modern world is a whole unity. And if some country is suffering from starvation, from hunger, yeah, from war, so the world should unite and provide necessary help. And you know that I have read the text, which is called The Doctors Without Frontiers, yeah? And it is about the doctors who just quit their ordinary jobs and live for some remote countries like Africa, and they also cure people of their tiredness to some extent, because hunger, it's a great ground for tiredness, for exhaustion, yeah. And so not just, I mean, for the whole world, not just provide these countries with food, yeah, but to provide the countries with medical supplies, with medical facilities, with people who are even able to speak with these people who lack food, who lack money, who even lack civilization. Thanks, Mufutu, you impressed me a lot.
Thank you. And yeah, I really appreciate your insight. There's something that you said about doctors, and reminded me of something. I think it happened in South America, or I don't remember, but it happened. It's like a doctor is only paid. You only pay your doctor as long as you are healthy. I think it was like this. So every time you get sick, your doctor is not paid. So this switches the capability, the priority for the doctor. So the priority of the doctor is he's only paid as long as he keeps you healthy, and not vice versa. Not like when you're sick, you go to the doctor. And this is a kind of mindset that I think this structure or this system, food system that you're operating with, is not addressing. Because you see, yeah, I don't think it's given much priority. And I think it comes down to a kind of hunger that we don't love ourselves enough.
So
this is why it's,
let me ask you a question by mentioning this. So you mentioned there are like 4 different types of hunger, like the hearts, the mind, the hands, and the land. So
yeah.
So in which order would you approach toward the solution? Like is it first starting with the hunger in our hearts, then the minds, then the hands, and then our land, or any specific order or to it, or not at all?
The thing that I like, what is our, I like to ask this, like, what is our default system? Our default system when we see a problem is like, where is the solution? And most of the time, it's a reactive thing. It's like when you see something sad or a baby is dying, a baby is locked up, what you want to do is to save, save, save. We have this severe syndrome. I see it as a mental disorder in some sense. Okay, so the mantra is, there's the problem. What is the mantra of the mind? What can I do? Who is in charge? What is the solutions? Give me a list of solutions. And so this story that I used, it's an invitation to confront these social dilemmas, like also sometimes to question your intention, because sometimes your intention, everybody in the world has a good intention. Even Putin has a good intention of helping his people. And the same side, the Ukrainian president has a good intention to helping his people. And same as a mother who is doing this and a father who is doing this. Everyone has good intention in the end. If you ask them, they will say, I have a good intention. But this story is inviting us to sit with the problem without even thinking first about where the solutions will come from. How does it feel to sit with hunger? And this is why I'm saying, like, and this is why I want to say, like, Sharon, it's not like a format of like where it will start with the hand, with the land, with the mind, because I feel every human is in different state of hunger, in different place. And it's not like a linear progression of it. It's something that happens by looking at food beyond just quantity, for example. You're seeing food as God, for example, seeing food as love, like transcending your relationship with that which sustains you. Imagine now I'm a cocktail of all the foods that I've ate all my life. If this food was full of toxic chemicals and stuff, I'm made of all these chemicals. All this food is full of energies of people who are suffering and they were paid less money, and then they were even sometimes killing themselves to make sure the land works so that somebody can eat the food. It comes with all these energies around it. So it's like seeing this relationship and these networks, and this is how it brings us in a holistic place where the heart, the mind, the land, and the hands need to work together in balance and harmony simultaneously.
Yeah, but give me an example, Muftu. I can relate to what you're saying, but maybe it would be good to give an example of what does it mean that first I have to better understand what motivates me and my intentions. Why is it that I come with good intentions, that this is the mantra, solving the problem. So what should be the mantra, or what do you mean have a better understanding of what motivates me? Why is it that I wanna do the things I do?
First of all, I am trying to say.
Yeah. So you say problems, or you could say challenges, which is more or less the same. It's just a different word to approach things like. But the problem, like, oh, there is something which is bad. A challenge, you don't put it in the context of or good or bad. There is something that we have to solve as to have a better life for all, right?
Okay, I got a good example to ask, and maybe it's the first question I asked. What is the World Global Hunger trying to teach us? For example, what is it trying to teach you? What does it show you?
What the global hunger teaches me, but which one you are talking? The one like in the heart?
The one that you know, it's a general term. You can answer in whatever layer you feel it's alive.
For you say the hunger that I experience from my perspective.
Yeah, like for example, there's a global crisis going on. There's a global crisis going on now called global hunger. Let's say, for example, the one in SDG. So the mere presence of this word global hunger and its existence, do you think like it's trying to teach us something about us as humans? Now narrow it down about you. What is it trying to teach you?
That first, if I want to help others, I must help myself. Look in the mirror. What kind of hunger is it that I experience? Like the heart, the mind. And first, when I can feed my needs, right, then I can also feed the needs of others. Or if I'll change my perspective and elevate my consciousness, if we all will do so, then there will be no self and non-self. Like I see that we all, not just humanity, the whole ecosystem is suffering from hunger of the heart, the mind, hands, and land, as you mentioned. And then when I look in the mirror, I will not see only myself. I will see the whole of us, the whole of humanity. You see, and then I will not allow even myself to go on with everything as normal before we actually solve the all these hunger issues that we as humanity are confronting with. So like, for example, what I mean, I will not allow myself to indulge myself with with expensive food, or going to McDonald's, or even having a pizza, whatever, knowing that there are other people in the world that they starve, so, or that 40% of a global food is just going being wasted,
So who are you when you are thinking, or when you're in this process of, I can't eat pizza at the cost of other people who are suffering? Who are you at that moment?
Okay, I tell you something that I think you will like. Usually when we look at ourselves or as a hero, a hero is someone, I don't know, in mythology who's slaying dragons, or now like, Svetlana in a talk, a heroine, this lady that she saves the dogs, right? So a hero I see is like, if you go to our father Abraham, what is most recognized with opening his home, his tent has 4 doors, 4 directions of doors, openings. So he was a hero by being a good host, inviting everyone to his home and to his heart. And this is what I see, that when we open our heart, and not just inviting people to our home or a coffee or pizza, right? A hero is like, and this is what I see here, when we have this perspective, like this lady that she opened her heart in Ukraine, and she was now dedicating her entire being to saving the dogs. This is exactly like how I see a hero, because it's like, it's not just the mantra of solving problems with good intentions. No, it's like to see ourselves in the other. She saw herself in the dogs, and then she stopped everything, okay, and she put herself into, I'm now going to be the mother for these dogs, and that's how I see that. So it's a new mindset for the new era, that we will not any longer see a hero, someone who is killing and slaying others beings, but we will see a hero as someone who is opening his heart and mind and his hands, and obviously, if our leaders would just be like Abraham, our father, just opening the hearts, and just like, then I assure you that and this is how it's going to be. I mean, you will see the narrative is changing. The narrative is changing. This is how it must be, and it's happening.
I actually believe in this trajectory that you're going. Yeah, I love when our mindset or consciousness is shifting from competitive scarcity to collaborative abundance, with the understanding that we are all one, united, and connected, interrelated, and interdependent on each other. Like what happens to Africa affects everywhere in the world, and what happens everywhere in the world affects Africa. And it's not only humans, but even it's beyond humans. It's beyond non-human things. Absolutely. And I think this is really amazing. Thank you so much, Sharon.
No, thank you. Thank you for. So we have less than 1 minute. So let's close this session, and we can reconnect for the Q&A. We will have more joining us, and okay. So thank you so much, Svetlana, Muftu. This was very inspiring and opened our minds. So thank you, and see you next week's webinar.